So let's try some questions. Look at question number 5 on your worksheet and go ahead and pause this video, give it a try. Which type of front is represented by this cross section? The correct answer is B, cold. Continental polar, CP, if you don't remember these symbols, they're on your reference table, page 13. Continental polar is dry because it's continent on land, and polar, cold, cold and dry. And maritime tropical is humid. Maritime means on water. Tropical is warm. So this is warm and humid. When a cold air mass pushes cold and dry air mass pushes a warm and humid air mass up, that's actually a cold front. So go and pause this video, try number 6. The three diagrams below represent 3 frontal boundaries with the surface locations of the fronts labeled A, B, and C. Arrows indicate direction of air movement. Which table correctly matches each letter with type of frontal boundary it represents? The correct answer is A. A is a cold front because the cold air is pushing the warm air up. B is a warm front because the warm air is moving towards the cool air and being pushing itself up because it's low density. And C is an occluded front. Notice that on this side, the cool air is pushing the warm air up. We have a cold front on this side, and then the warm air is going going towards the cool air and moving above. We have a warm front on this side. We have 2 different types of fronts, so it's an occluded front. And you can refer back to it over here in your notes. Pause this video, try number 7. Base your answers to the questions on the weather map below and on your knowledge of earth science. The weather map shows a low pressure system over New York State on a July day. The L represents the center of the low, and 2 fronts extend from the center. Okay, well, we're going to talk more about low pressure systems in the future, but for now, you'll see that in a lot of low pressure areas, we have fronts around them. Locations of some cities are indicated. Which map shows the most probable areas of precipitation that would appear on a radar image taken at the time of these frontal positions? So, in other words, where do we get most of our rain? The correct answer is C. We're getting precipitation where near or on the front symbols. Okay, so this would be it. Next, go and pause this video, try number 8. Base your answers to the questions on the weather map below and your knowledge of earth science. The map shows a low pressure system and 2 fronts extending from the center L. Points A, B, C, and D represent locations on Earth's surface. 2 different air masses are labeled. So MT and CP. Which locations are most likely experiencing precipitation? The correct answer is D and B, because those places are closest to the symbols for the fronts. Remember, the closer you are to the front, the more precipitation there is and clouds there are. Next, pause this video, try number 9. Which map best represents the types of fronts and direction of the movement of these fronts in relation to the low pressure center? So, in other words, what's the symbol for this front? What's the symbol for this front? The correct answer is A. Here's why. Notice that you have station models, and the station models, the top left of station models show the temperature. In this case, the temperature in Buffalo is 54. This temperature is in Binghamton is 76. Clearly, Buffalo is cooler and Binghamton is warmer. So, notice that we're using these arrows, triangular symbols, and they represent a cold front. I know this is a cold front because the cool air is pushing towards the warm air. Okay, and that's why this is a cold front. But what about front 2? Well, in front 2, I have 76 over here and 52 over here. This is a warmer area and this is a cooler area. The warm air is pushing towards the cool air, and this is why this is a warm front. So we're representing warm fronts like this. The reason I know the air is moving this way, like this, is because if you need to write this down in your notes, do so. We'll talk about this more in the future. In places with low pressure, the air actually moves counterclockwise like this. Okay, so that's why I know this area is moving this way, and then this area is moving up, and it actually creates a circle counterclockwise. And we'll talk more about this in detail. So whenever you see a low pressure system, please remember that in a low pressure system, air actually moves like this. counterclockwise. And that's why I know this front is moving this way, the cold front. And I know it's cold because the cold air is pushing towards warm air. And front 2 is moving this way. And the warm air is pushing towards cool air. So if you need to write this down, do so. In low pressure areas, the air moves counterclockwise. And we'll talk about this more in the future. Next is number 10. Pause this video, go ahead and try it. Which two locations most likely have the warmest air temperatures? The correct answer is W and X. Here's why. I see this is a cold front. And I know this cold front is moving this way because the arrows are pointing this way. That means this must be cold and this must be warm. Because in a cold front, a cold air mass pushes towards a warm air mass. Okay. And notice that this is the symbol for a warm front. In a warm front, in this case, the semicircles are pointing this way, so I know the warm front is going this way. In a warm front, warm air pushes towards cool air. So once again, this area must be warm and this area must be cold. And remember, in low pressure areas, the air moves counterclockwise. So this is kind of matching up with what I said, right? The cold air mass is going, front is going this way, and the warm front is going this way, causing a semicircle to form. So that's why the correct answer is W and X. This is the warm area. This is a cool area. This is also a cool area. So skip number 11 because this is the same as another question we did in the past. And go ahead and try number 12. On the weather map below, place an X where precipitation is most likely occurring. So your answer or your X should be somewhere along the front, anywhere around here. So if you had placed an X in any of these shaded areas, you're good to go. Precipitation most likely happens around or along frontal boundaries. So finally, 13, on the weather map above, write the air mass symbols to indicate the most likely locations of the continental polar air mass and maritime tropical air mass. So remember, you use the symbols, not the whole word. And you can find the symbols on reference table page 13. The correct answer is this. So don't worry about the L here. It's always normally a low pressure system when you see air masses moving kind of in a counterclockwise direction. We'll talk about that more in the future. But I know this is a continental polar air mass and I know this is a maritime tropical air mass. That's because I know these arrows represent or these triangles represent a cold front. And this cold front is moving this way downwards, right? Towards the bottom right. And I know in a cold front the cold air pushes towards the warm air. So this must be a continental polar air mass, cool, continental meaning it's dry, and polar meaning it's cold. And I know this is a maritime tropical air mass. Maritime meaning it's moisture, humid, and tropical meaning it's warm. Okay? And in a cold front, cold air pushes towards warm air. Another hint is this. This is a warm front, and the warm front is going this way, right? And in a warm front, the warm air pushes towards cold air. That's why I know this must be warm air pushing this way, and this must also be a cold air mass up there. Okay, if you wrote continental polar over here, that would also be fine. Okay. The only thing you can't do is reverse the letters. So it can be PC or TM. It has to be CP and MT, just like it is on your reference table. And in the future, we'll talk about climate. That's it for now.